What's good, YouTube? Cardfight King here, Aqua Life Babe. You already know how it is. Man, I haven't said that in a long time on the deck profile, but we're back, guys, with that new Aqua Life support. Happy new Aqua Life. Getting right into it, I want to definitely bring you guys my first version of Maelstrom deck. So happy we got this new support. Maelstrom has taken a step in the correct direction for support. Really, 3 cards that we added to the deck, but it's improved the deck so much. The consistency of this deck is through the roof. The power lanes that you can make in this deck is really good now, and the fact that I believe OG Maelstrom has become so much better and a much bigger focal point of the deck that Glory Maelstrom can now go back into it. The deck no longer really depends on you having to get to Glory Maelstrom as fast as possible. OG Maelstrom with the new support cards, his viability and play has increased so much that I definitely feel comfortable sitting on him for multiple turns and being able to utilize his ability to pressure and push our opponents. He's kind of like something that gets you to where you want to be, and then you can drop Glory when optimal and close things out. And you'll see why when we go over this deck. But I have been doing a lot of play testing against a variety of different decks, including our Kami, Shadow Paladins, and whatnot. A lot of Shadow Hands, playtesting online, talks with the Aqua lads, Zay, Commander Jaime, Black Eye Senpai, Narath, Ocean Dragon, Avtaru, all them. So very, very pleased to bring you this deck profile. Let's go ahead and get right into it. And you already know we explained everything. Alright, so obviously, oh yeah, Gallius Mat, amazing. So obviously starters, Officer Cadet Eric. We're going to go with 4 heals, 4, oops, that's not a draw, 4 draw triggers, and now you come out, Dolphin, jump in the gun, boy. 6 front, 2 crit. Don't want to spend a heavy amount of time on this, but the reason why I'm running this lineup is mostly because it was really just for a test, because I wanted to, opponents really don't feel like this deck runs crits at all, and crits just kind of, one, they add a little bit more value to your Maelstrom restand turn, and in this deck, it's, the Maelstrom restand turn is actually a lot more potent. And it's kind of like a quote-unquote surprise trigger, but I don't feel the need to have any extra draw triggers in the deck. The deck filters, search is, retains hands so much better now, and you don't need a draw trigger just to, do anything. I'd rather go with a more aggressive trigger lineup, especially with all the filter and whatnot. Going with a more aggressive trigger lineup is pretty good, and that crit trigger, has come in handy now and again. It helped me beat Narukami in our shop qualifier, which I came at in 2nd place. This is before I updated the deck. On Saturday, came in 2nd place, lost to Riviere in the finals, undefeated up to the finals. He won the die roll and just Riviered me. We were using the new ban list, but Riviere is still a strong deck. But yeah, so that's really it. I will say the thing about front triggers versus crit triggers is that a crit trigger weakens Glory Maelstrom. And the reason why I say that is because Glory Maelstrom, you want power across the board for basically unblockable attacks. Glory Maelstrom asks the question, not how much guard do you have in your hand, it's what guard do you have in your hand. How many 15k shields, 20k shields, perfect guards do you have in your hand, and can you block all of these attacks with the requisite guard, because you can only use 1 card. And because he asked that question, hitting a front trigger just, makes that question all the more likely for your opponent not to be able to answer. The crit trigger is decent, and you can stack it on a Riptide, and your opponent has to PG or die against it, but that scenario is just not that great, and they can still 1-card guard everything else. So fronts work better for a Glory turn, but for an OG Maelstrom turn, the crits definitely have a lot more value because he threatens the restand. So I have been flip-flopping between 8 front and 6 front, and whether or not I put in 2 crit. So for this deck profile, I'm going to be using the 2 crit, but again, like I said, I flip-flop. After the deck profile, I might change it back to 8 front. Who knows? Let's get on to grade 1. Alright, so we're going to kind of hop into the meat and potatoes of the deck in a way. 4 copies of Wheel Assault. Wheel Assault still, I need to get my 4S, I need to get 3 more SP copies. But Wheel Assault is still a fantastic card for this deck. Obviously our focal ride target for turn 1 ride, so we can get that nice turn 2 play off. The other thing is that, and something that I personally need to do, is utilize his, battle swap skill a lot more often. And I need to set up, being able to practice with his skill, setting up more optimal lanes to get the maximum usage out of this card will take you to another level as an Aqua Force player. Even like on a Maelstrom turn, after the 4th battle, your opponent's gonna be sitting there taking will take some damage if certain things can still hit. That's fine, because it's like I'm still putting damage on board, and I'm putting you closer to where Glory can just smack you down and you can't recover. Or if I have to go into another OG Maelstrom turn, then I can get a free restand. And again, like I said, the OG Maelstrom turn is so much better in this deck, and you'll see why. But definitely for Will. So now, newcomer, probably one of my most favorite cards from the set. 4 copies of Blue Wave Soldier Senior Baragios. I absolutely love this card, and I'm going to have a ton of different videos and different combo videos for what this guy can do. He has so much value to this deck. So his first ability is that during your turn, if you have 4 or more rested rear guards, he gets 5,000 power. So it's a continuous Vanguard or rear guard skill, whatever. The thing is that 13k boost, that turns that turns your Coral Assault, the base power of a Coral Assault column, that turns that into a 37k hit. That turns Riptide into a 45k hit. That takes a grade 3 in front of him. That takes that up to instead of it being a 22, it takes it up to a 25k column. This card just puts in so much work. And then his other ability is on plays Vanguard or Rear Guard. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck for any grade 3 and add to your hand. So this is one of our first search cards, being able to search out our grade 3 lineup. We get to add the Glories, add the OGs, add the Riptides to hand, and then you discard a card if you add one to your hand. Overall, he's just a fantastic card. Setting him up on your rear guard column, you don't want him behind your Vanguard. You want him on your rear guard column, and being able to just set him up is so fantastic. Just him sitting there as a 13k booster, making a lot of different power lanes, definitely increases the chances your opponent is not going to be able to guard certain things during your Maelstrom turns, increasing the likelihood that you're going to proc his restand or drain your opponent's hand a lot more. And he serves as a very good 13k attacker. Plus, the interesting thing about him is that his first skill, if you have 4 or more rested rear guards, he counts himself as one of the 4. So if you have 3 already rested, or you're boosting with him, he counts himself as one of the rested rear guards for his cost. So because he does that, if you have him on like the regular rear guard circle, for instance, he's sitting there at 13. He can sit there as a 13k attacker, Glory Maelstrom skill. He's 23k attacker, but he's a 23k attacker, 28k attacker on the Excel circle. XL2 anyways. Just an overall fantastic card, and something that I definitely would endorse you guys playing 4 copies of. Fantastic card. And then we play 3 copies of Analyze Shooter. So what Analyze Shooter does is that he is on boost. You get to, if the attack that he boosts hits his opponent's Vanguard, Soul Blast 1, discard 1, search your deck for 2 different copies of Maelstrom. So you search out 1 copy of Glory, 1 copy of Maelstrom. If you run out of copies of OG Maelstrom, then just search your 1 copy of Glory, whatever. This guy is decent. He definitely improves the consistency. Again, you will rarely ever misride a grade 3 in this deck. There's just too many filter and searchability ways to get to your grade 3 cards. He's a decent card. You really want to get his skill off maybe just once a game, twice if you want to. But he does fuel another card in a grade 2 lineup, which we're going to get to. But really, once you get one onto the board, and I usually just put him behind my Vanguard. Once you use his ability like once, then he's good. The other copies you can use just for shield or extra boosters if you need to, but really, extra shield, because you want Barragios really on your opposite rear columns, or like a Barragios and a Wheel Assault for a different place. Let's get into grade 2s. Alright, so for the grade 2s, you already know the staple, my favorite card, the boy, Tile Assault. Just an amazing card, outstanding. Just, to me, he's a transcendent card, even though I don't play him in revonn. Just still a fantastic card, and his Soul Blast cost is kind of important for how we've changed up the grade 2 lineup. 4 copies of Coral Assault, easily one of your best beaters in the deck. Second to Riptide, just an overall great card. And then obviously the option to go into the Soul and draw your card to recoup his ability to fill Soul for Tile. He's just, you play 4 copies of him really in every Aqua Force deck. I think between Barragios, Wheel Assault, and him, those are really the 3 floatable, the 9 cards that you're going to just float into every Aqua Force deck. And then we're playing 4 Press Stream. So as you notice, we have taken out the Algos and Nicolas engine. Why? One, because both Algos and his skill cost a counterblast. So we don't want to have that conflicting alongside our Maelstrom. Secondly, the Nicolas search for the Algos is okay, but searching out the Algos, as the meta has begun to evolve, as the game has begun to evolve and adapt and whatnot, his usage, along with his cost, has gotten weaker and weaker over the time, and it was just time to get both of those cards, both of that kind of like a solo engine for each other, kind of out of the deck. Even though these people say, oh yes, you're missing your grade 2 pressure turn. It's like, well, not necessarily. You go second against the Force deck, which we're about to enter into a heavy Force meta. Obviously, we have Riviere, but we have Chrono Fang, Genesis coming out. Then we got the Asha, Ultimile, and Chrono Jet trial decks, and the next stage set coming out. We're definitely entering into a Force, and Clarisor too. We're definitely entering into a Force heavy meta. So that doesn't really matter. And you can still get off multi-tags. Again, you have Wheel Assault, you have Tidal Assault. You can get, you're not really missing anything. And if you have 1 counterblast and you're riding over Wheel Assault, you rather use Wheel Assault's ability to filter and possibly drop the Riptide, than wanting to go for Algos' ability and not be able to draw the filter to get to your other cards. But Press Stream is a fantastic card, and I think he's probably one of the more dangerous cards in the deck. What he does is you counterblast 1, discard a Maelstrom card, and give your Maelstrom Vanguard 10k and triple drive, or an extra drive check. Yeah, this is good. This is very good. This is very, very good. He turns your OG Maelstrom turns into if I restand, because they retain the power and drive for the entire turn. So he turns your OG Maelstrom turn into if you let me restand, I will triple drive on you again. And that's essentially kind of like a plus in a sense. The other thing is that, obviously you can use that for a Glory turn. So that turns Glory into an unboosted 32k swinger with triple drive. And the last thing you want to do is add an extra drive check onto Glory Maelstrom. But the thing is with this deck, between Analyze Shooter and Barragios, you have so many different ways to filter and search out your Maelstrom lineup that you continually get fodder for him to use. And obviously, yes, he's 8k, but you could just put him on the Excel circle, and he's 13, or you could leave him as a booster, or leave him as an attacker here. This is a 21k columns, 10k guard on a Force card, or any card. Use Maelstrom's ability. Now this is a 24k column. I mean, it's or Glory Maelstrom's 31k. I mean, it's this guy. If your opponent leaves him on the board, that means one of two things. You can sit on OG Maelstrom, use his ability again, especially usually because a lot of times we have him behind the Vanguard. If not, whatever. just use him again, and now they have to deal with another Maelstrom turn with Triple Drive. And like I said before, you can make a lot of power lanes with Baragios and Coral Assault. 37k without Maelstrom skill, 40k with Maelstrom skill. With Riptide Dragon, that's 45. That's 45k without Maelstrom skill of 48 with. It's 48 with. It's just. This guy just puts on so much pressure for the opponent, and they really want to get him off the board. If they don't get him off the board, then they're going to be in a world of hurt, and again, you're going to be getting through your deck faster. You'll have more of an opportunities to hit that front trigger that you need, especially when if you leave him on there and you have 2 open Counter Blasts and you are on Glory Maelstrom. Like I said, that's the last thing your opponent wants, is when they are at high damage and they pretty much have to block everything, and you give Glory Maelstrom 1 extra power to you give him another triple drive, then they don't want to deal with a triple drive in Glory Maelstrom. Nobody does. But yeah, this guy's just fantastic. He's a card you definitely look forward to. I don't like to ride him because I really value him very heavily for my grade 3 Maelstrom turn, and I want to make sure that I'm able to use his skill if need be. If not, it's fine. It's whatever. You play the game how you can, but you definitely want to be able to, and there's a lot of ways you can be able to set this man up for, for a really good turn for yourself. Let's get into grade 3. Alright, so for grade 3s is still pretty simple, but I'll explain it. 4 copies of OG Mail, 4 copies of Glory, 2 copies of Riptide. Now, for the longest time, for months and months and months, I've been playing 3 copies of Riptide Dragon. I needed to cut 1 Riptide to make space for a 3rd analyze shooter. And the reason why I'm only running 3 analyze shooters, because again, like I said, once you get his skill off once, he's, that's pretty much what you did, and then the rest of the copies are there for either, cheesy boosters or just 10k shields. I generally value them more at 10k shields. But Baragios, is your main search, one of your main search cards, and you can search out the Riptide Dragon. I understand that he is an important attacker, and again, I still flirt with the idea of tossing him, but I feel like 10 grade 3s is as much as I really want to do, and I feel like my grade 2 and grade 1 lineup is very solid and intact for right now. Obviously, things can change, but like I said before the beginning, I really value OG Maelstrom nowadays. His value for his turn 3 with the new support that we have is so much better now, and the probability of you proccing his skill and draining your opponent's hand of more cards is even better. Again, like I said, better power lanes thanks to Baragios. The triple drive you get from Press Stream is just and the way that you can thin out the deck of your grade 3s is just outstanding. And so, because he's like your focal grade 1 ride, because obviously riding Glory turn 1 or turn 3 is not that good. You don't have a Maelstrom and Soul, you just get the Garbonib. Everything is still a 1-card guard regardless. It's just, you really only get value if you sack front triggers. Other than that, no. So you definitely, and I never have a problem in this deck misriding. I haven't misrode him at all with, again, like all the searchability of this deck and being able to get to your grade 3s. I have not misrode him at all, so that's good. But when it comes to Riptide, I look at what I have in the deck, and I play 4 copies of Coral Assault. So that makes 6 beaters, 4 Coral Assault, 2 Riptides. The difference in their power really is just 8,000. So it's not that huge of a drop off. And like I said, I wanted to max these copies out to maximize Analyze, to maximize Press Stream's ability, because Press Stream is just such a strong card in this deck. And as for beaters, we rely heavily on Coral and Riptide to get the job done. But Baragios also comes into play because he's a versatile attacker and he's a great booster. So if you do have to call the grade 3 out, that's 12 and 13. That's a solid 25k column right here. 35k if you use Glory Maelstrom skill. You know, instead of it being an 8k and then that being like a 15 or 20k guard, now this takes your opponent to a PG or damage range on a Glory turn. So that's really what I wanted to talk to you guys about and get this deck profile out here for you. Again, this is only really the first version of the deck. I still want to do a lot more testing. We're going to do a lot more combo videos and things like that. We're going to heavily focus on our discussions and everything else around Maelstrom, around the deck. We're going to do a lot of matchup discussions and things like that. So definitely look forward to a wealth of Maelstrom content this week. And we'll be getting our case split for Revonn on Friday. I will have a deck profile uploaded for you on Friday once I sleeve up the deck. And then I'll be filming some playtesting games. When we get down to playtesting, we'll be doing some Revonn. We'll be doing some Maelstrom playtesting games. And we'll be taking it to our first local tournament on Saturday. Probably going to be playing Revonn on Saturday. But, you know, we'll see. I definitely had a deferring opinion about Revonn and Maelstrom going into the set, but as I've been playing Maelstrom a lot more and have been discovering different things and, you know, utilizing cards differently, I've gotten a lot more of an appreciation for this deck and what it does. And I think that with the meta slowing down from the ban list, you know, Maelstrom, especially if you already had the cards, is a very fun and viable option for you to take to your tournaments. But this has been the Cardfight King, Aqua Life, baby. We back in it. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys shortly in the next video. Peace.